Joining us now live is Senator Chap Petersen. Senator, you are in Richmond. We're in D.C. Welcome.
John, thanks for having me. I'm sitting at my desk overlooking the Capitol Square in Richmond as we speak.
Okay, before we get to politics, we got to go football. Can we start with football?
Please.
You know, we got the championship games coming up. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a normal human being. He's kind of one of these cartoon metahuman characters. He's on a hot streak right now, can't be stopped. But the Washington Redskins lost to knock themselves out of the playoffs at home against a Giants team that had nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They were locked into spot number 5, win or lose. They ended up getting blown out in Green Bay. But I thought the Redskins came out that day. They looked flat to me. That was one of the most – I'm not a Skins fan, don't care one way or the other. I'm just a football fan.
Right.
But it was a horrible game. And you look at that game and you say, is this a sick franchise? What's their future? What was the deal with that game?
Yeah, you know, it was very troubling, John, because all in all, the season had gone well. I mean, the team had played hard. They had played some tough games. They had a first-place schedule. You know, they had gone overseas and played, lost some close games. But I felt like they competed hard in every game. And the last 2 home games, both of which I attended, against Carolina and against New York, there just wasn't a lot of intensity on the field. I mean, for me as a casual fan, or actually a not-so-casual fan, I just didn't get the sense of urgency. I felt like, we were getting pushed around, and I felt like maybe the coaching wasn't aggressive enough. But the bottom line was we got beat by 2 teams, Carolina and New York, who had nothing to play for. In New York, it was particularly embarrassing because they actually, they had Beckham on the bench in the second half, and they were just trying to get to the playoffs. So, I mean, they were already in, and we still couldn't beat them. And that's a little bit disturbing. So, normally I'm all, I'm pro Redskins all the way,
right.
But that was not a good end to the season.
No, I didn't think it was either, and you got to look at the team's future. I think you're right. You nailed it. The lack of intensity. I kind of got the Carolina game. I mean, they always have – look, I was in your office, and you circled that game, right? We were in there with everybody, and you circled the game, and you said, this is a game. It's just everything is – we're going to lose. We don't play well against them.
Yeah, we're terrible on Monday nights.
We're terrible on Monday night. They're like 1-20, and just a hard time with Carolina and that quarterback, Cam Newton. But then it was like, okay, well, you're going to play the Giants. Giants are already going to be in it. That's the one that's going to get you in the playoffs, and they just came out flat as a pancake. So, that something's the matter, right? I mean,
yeah, it's tough. And you know what? I look at this NFC East, and Dallas is going to be good for a while. I mean, they've got a great core of young players. The Giants are still around. Philadelphia's going to get better. And we've got to improve. I mean, you can't stand still in this business. And, I like McLuhan. I like the players by and large we brought in. But we got to get a little bit meaner. We got to get a little bit more of a killer instinct. We gave up too many yards, too many touchdowns at towards the end of games, towards the ends of halves. And, this team has a ton of talent. They went up and down the field all season long. But, once they got inside the 10-yard line, you just got to. They didn't have that killer instinct. So that's something they got to get better at. That's the bottom line.
All right, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh gosh, I hate to say it, but it's really hard to go against New England. I mean, I think Green Bay is playing. Rodgers is just in another level right now. I think they'll beat Atlanta, but New England's got such a good defense, as well as having a really good offense. They're the most complete team in the playoffs that I see.
Right.
So I'd probably put my money on them.
Agreed. I think New England wins it all. Okay, unbelievable. Monday, January 16th, Martin Luther King Day. So Senator Chap Petersen puts forth legislation. Get this, okay? You talk about a populist piece of legislation. Restoring funds to Dominion Power and Appalachian Power customers, basically restoring refunds.
Restoring the right to refunds.
Restoring refunds to people that got ripped off. Now, Frank Wagner, who's running for governor, Republican from Virginia Beach, he's the chairman of the Commerce and Labor Committee. He pushed the Dominion bill last session that basically said, well, we're not going to do any refunds for a 7-year period of time, but we're going to hold the rate. That's a compromise. But people say to themselves, okay, so you're not going to increase the rate, but then you're going to steal from me, and I can't get my money back. Who the hell ever heard of that? And then it goes down. This was SB 1095, trying to undo Wagner's bill in, I guess what, 2015?
2015, it was 2 years ago.
2015. And it goes down in the Commerce and Labor Committee 12-2.
Right.
I mean, what? And you talk about the swamp in D.C.
Talk about money talks, and you know what walks in this building. I don't think you could imagine a situation in which money completely dictated the result of a committee vote. But let me just, John, I appreciate you bringing this up. Let me just put this, people try and make this a complicated issue. It's actually a really simple issue. The simple issue is that Dominion Power and Appalachian Power have a monopoly. They have a monopoly. They can charge whatever they want because you have to tap into their network to have electricity so you can live, okay, or have a business. You can't have a radio show. I can't turn on the heat. We can't do anything unless we have electricity. They own the lines. They own the networks. They have the monopoly. Because of that, Virginia, for years, over 100 years, has had a state corporation commission that basically looks at the books of these companies and makes sure that they don't earn a profit that's excessive, which usually means they get about a 10% rate of return for their shareholders. That's a pretty darn good rate of return, by the way, for most investments. I'm sure you and I would love to have that for our portfolio.
Sure.
We repealed that right of the SEC to look at their books and order refunds when there are excessive profits. We repealed that 2 years ago, and the whole justification was that the Obama administration was pushing the Clean Power Plan, and that was going to be additional costs, and they were going to have to close plants and all this other stuff. Well, the Clean Power Plan never took effect. There was a lawsuit against it by multiple state attorney generals. It got suspended by the U.S. Supreme Court, and now we have a new president, and the Clean Power Plan is basically going the way of the dodo bird. So that whole justification's out the window. So now we're in a situation where we have power companies that basically are earning money. We have energy prices, which is to say natural gas prices, because that's where most energy comes from, that's at an all-time low. The coal industry is in complete depression, so those prices are at an all-time low. So they're buying their inputs at an all-time low, and they're making huge profits, and none of that's going back to the consumer, which it should. And all we have to do as an assembly is just say, you know what, 2015 we passed a bill, turned out it was unnecessary, we're going to go back to the old system, and every consumer would be due a refund. And some businesses, those refunds would be over $1,000 a year. And instead, people just simply don't have the guts to do the right thing. It's as simple as that. It's not complicated.
Well, look, you made a statement in your press release. You said if you use electricity in Virginia, you should want this bill. If you live in a teepee, you don't care. Everybody should want this bill. And so basically, you've got this monopoly, the power monopoly that funds a lot of the campaigns, that is funding the government, that basically is not accountable to giving refunds back when people are overcharged. And this is unheard of. But I tell you, the thing that dumbfounded me is that it went down 12-2. Now, you got on the committee, your two pro votes were Republicans, conservative Senator Dick Black and Steve Newman from Lynchburg. But 12 people voted in opposition to letting this thing get out of committee so they can be further examined so that people can get refunds back, because they've essentially, look, if you're getting your refund back, you've been overcharged.
Right.
Or you've been cheated, or, this is a monopoly. So you have some that says if you make too much money, you're going to get some of it back because you're regulated by the government. You have no competition. This is not like a free market enterprise. How did 12 members of that committee vote no?
I would have probably had 0 votes, but for the fact that I spoke with Ken Cuccinelli that weekend, and he wrote a very comprehensive and very effective letter on behalf of the bill, which I think swayed a couple people, or at least maybe swayed Senator Black. Senator Newman, like myself, had voted against the original bill in 2015, so he stayed consistent. The rest of folks, I'm just not going to offer an explanation because I don't know. At the end of the day, like I said, money talks, and it's the funny thing is that 6 months ago we had the governor talking about restoring felony rights, which I supported, and now it's time to restore refund rights. And it really starts with the governor at this point, because I can only do but so much as a senator in this body. I can't, my caucus is in the minority, and even frankly, if we are in the majority, there's just too much financial dependency in the halls of the General Assembly on Dominion to pass this type of consumer bill. And when I say consumer bill, I don't mean like wild-eyed consumer. I mean just basic fair rights. And the governor needs to step in. This is at his level now, because he's the only one with the credibility or the level to step in and say, hey, it's time to go back to regulated rates. It's time to go back to giving customer refunds. It's time to restore the refunds. And I signed the bill 2 years ago, but you know what? Situation changed. Hillary didn't win. We got a new president. That Clean Power Plan is not in effect. That whole justification's out the window. And if that's out the window, then why are we doing this? Unless
right.
We really do just want to give away money to Dominion.
Right, because their reason, the linchpin, if you will, for doing this was to combat, or was to be able to deal with the cleaner energy new regulation policies coming down the pike. Well,
right.
Trump is going to wipe all those
right.
out. I think that's a good thing.
Gone. Yeah.
But like you said, they had a 9.6% return in 2015. Now, did you talk to Senator Wagner about this?
Yeah, I talked to Frank. Actually, listen, and Frank and I are friends, and I know he's a sponsor of your show, and Frank's a really good guy. I think maybe it's a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome, that where you're the chairman of a committee where you have such a close relationship with the utilities and obviously the lobbyists, and they're very, very convincing and very effective. And the bottom line is, it was his bill, and I brought it up. I brought the points up. I brought speakers from the right and the left. I had a letter from Cuccinelli. I had the Attorney General, his office, speaking on my behalf. I had consumer groups, Virginia Poverty Law Center. The problem is that Dominion, of course, has the ability to trot out people to speak on its behalf who all have a financial relationship with Dominion. I mean, they can take some solar company that they have a contract with to, walk out there and say how great this bill was for solar. Well, it reminded me of 1991. Remember when Saddam Hussein took all those hostages and he would have them walk out and talk about what a great leader he was for Iraq? Pretty much the same thing, Right. I mean, I don't have that. I don't have that type of, people on my payroll that I can put out and speak about my legislation. All I got is just, the truth.
So, Chap, even the Democrats, though, on the committee, you couldn't even get them to see
I didn't get one vote,
value
John.
of this.
That's why I said I'm not. This is not the least. This is not a partisan bill, because I didn't have support from the Democrats either. So this is not me bashing Republicans, because
exactly
I got no support from the Democrats.
None. You would think technically you're a Democrat. You're going to be not in favor of this kind of thing. You're in favor of restoring rights for just average citizens, their refund rights. That went down. But I think you hit the nail on the head. The only way you're going to bring this drag it out in the sun. Why don't we call it what it is? The only way you're going to drag this out into the sunlight and get people saying, whoa, what's going on here, is if you get the governor to come out and make a statement.
Yeah.
And you got to get politics out of this. I know that the governor's been criticized. A lot of what he does has got all kinds of political ramifications, and that's the world he lives in. This does not, but I think it's the right thing to do. I think Terry McAuliffe should come out, and it's like opening up the vampire's coffin in the middle of the day. You just got to crack it open and open it up, let everybody see what's in there, right?
Yeah, and I think, and again, I've never been the governor and probably never will be, but I look at it that there's moments when you're a governor when you can really stand up and show people who's the boss. And, I mean, anytime you you can announce a few hundred jobs here, a couple dozen jobs there. You can, announce a position that, frankly, is, pretty much tracks your political party line. And, nobody's going to remember that 10 years from now. Honestly, nobody remembers that. But there are times when you can take a stand on an issue where people are like, whoa, and step back. and I think this is an opportunity. So we'll see. Like I said, I've been around this building a little while. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. I got a few parliamentary tactics that I'm surely going to utilize. But this issue's just getting started. And I'll tell you, if it doesn't get solved this session, it's going to be front and center in the governor's race. So those candidates are going to need to take a position on it. And I'll ask them myself if they have to.
You absolutely need to ask them, because the only way this is going to see the light of day, like we just said, no pun intended, is if you get the media involved, you try to get the governor involved, and you make this an issue in the 2017 governor's race. Like on the Republican side, obviously, Frank Wagner, you know where he stands. He's not going to make it an issue. I have no idea where Ed Gillespie stands on it, or Corey Stewart. But there's one guy running, Denver Riggleman, that just got in the race. He's been talking about this kind of stuff. I would think that he would take this on immediately. And then on the other side, I would think that Tom Perriello would make this a centerpiece of his campaign as well, right? But you got to get people talking about it.
Right.
But I love the way you simplified it. It's basically restore refund rights.
Yeah, it's just restore refund rights, just like restore felon voting rights. Restore refund rights for ordinary citizens. And by the way, if you're looking to move a business into Virginia, I think one of the things you want to know is that your utilities will be at a low cost, that you're not going to be paying some type of monopoly premium. And so I think it's good for business to have, these types of laws.
Well, Senator Petersen, this was absolutely the right thing to do. We appreciate your coming on and trying to shine a bright light on it. We're going to keep talking about it. Hopefully you get the governor involved. And these are the, like I had Dave Albo on yesterday talking about his bill basically to give ticket owners rights to transfer their tickets, which the monopoly Ticketmaster and Live Nation is trying to stop. There's all kinds of things out there. I'm telling you, when monopolies get involved, everybody else is screwed, and a handful of people get richer than they already are. It's just bad.
Break them up. Good stuff, man.
Keep fighting. All right, keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks, John. Good to talk to you.
Radio Network. We're with Chap Petersen, Democratic state senator from Fairfax. Restore refund rights. Restore ticket owner rights. I mean, these big business, big companies, big monopolies, who gets screwed? You. I'll be right back.